What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. So a lot of you have been asking for my reaction, my take on all the conference realignment news that has happened over the last few weeks. I really dropped the ball on this topic. Just been so busy, haven't really been able to do anything on it. But yeah, it was a golden opportunity here. Probably get a lot of views on the channel. I know one channel that's basically done a video on conference realignment every single day, and they've gotten a lot of views on those videos. But it is what it is. Just haven't had the time. Also been sick. I guess some of you noticed that on some of the videos, almost over all of that. So just wanted to give a quick reaction here. I have absolutely no plan for this video. I don't know if it'll be a 2-minute video, a 20-minute video. I have no graphics. I have none of that. Just gonna kind of give some thoughts out there because you guys asked. So let's start with the Big Ten, adding Washington and Oregon. Well, first of all, my thoughts on just this whole thing. I don't like it. I don't think it's good for college football. I love the traditions of college football, the rivalries, everything that we're going to lose. You know, I hate to see it. Just hate to see it. But just looking at it from a competitive standpoint, obviously Washington, Oregon going to the Big Ten, it's exciting. You're still going to get to, at least you see Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA play each other, and they should. Those teams should play each other every year. You should have a game against those three teams every year, so you at least keep something going here. But yeah, these two teams coming to the Big Ten, they help, and you could say that, yeah, now we're going to get matchups like Washington and Ohio State, or Oregon and Michigan, or USC and Penn State, whatever the matchup might be. But I would counter that and say, for every matchup like that, you're also going to get a matchup like USC versus Rutgers or Oregon versus Indiana. So it's not going to really change the games. If you really want to have great competitive games every single week, what you'd have to do is you'd have to get rid of those teams at the bottom of these conferences. And that's obviously not going to happen. So it's not really going to change that much. You will have a few more good games. And I do find it ironic that this is probably the best year the Pac-12 has had in a long time, or it looks like it's going to be going into this season. 4 legitimate top 10, top 12-ish teams. You got Oregon State, UCLA, possibly top 25 teams, or possibly 6 top 25 teams. 4 legitimate playoff contenders, in my opinion. The conference is finally back. USC is finally back to where we haven't seen them in a long time. And now it all blows up. Pac-12 done. There will be no more Pac-12 unless they do some kind of merger, or I don't know what's going to happen with all that. I did pretty much predict this, though. I posted a video on the community tab yesterday, a video that I did about 3 months ago, and it went about how I expected it to go. We'll wait and see about Stanford and Cal. Will those teams go to the Big Ten? It could help with travel and everything if you wind up going back to divisions and you have all those old Pac-12 teams in the same division so they can play each other. That could possibly help. But then, are you really getting a new Big Ten? It's almost like you've just still got the Pac-12. So I don't know what's going to happen with all that. I think Stanford, because of not really football, but just their overall athletics, I think that the Big Ten, I think they'll probably add them. And if they add Stanford, they'll probably add Cal. They'd love to add Notre Dame, of course, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I do think the Big Ten is either going to be at 18 or 20 schools. Well, again, adding Stanford and Cal possibly, unless the Pac-12 or the Pac-4 comes up with some type of plan. And so then you look at the Big 12. Now, I love the new Big 12. I think the new Big 12 is going to be really exciting because there's going to be a ton of parity in that conference, and there already has been. Even with Texas and Oklahoma, when they were there was still a lot of parity. And those teams, I know Oklahoma had their run, but you still saw a lot of parity in that conference. And now you're going to get even more of that. A chance for, Utah has been a really, really good team. Are they going to be kind of that team in the Big 12 to possibly be the team to beat every year? I don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, I do like the new Big 12. I think it's going to be really exciting. A lot of fun matchups there, a lot of close games, and you're not going to have what you're going to have in the Big Ten, like I mentioned. You're not going to have Washington versus Indiana, or Oregon versus Rutgers, those types of matchups, Northwestern versus USC. You're not really going to have that in the Big 12 because there really are not any bad programs in the Big 12. I'm sure there will be some teams that have their down years, but I love the new Big 12. I'm excited about that. The Big Ten, it is what it is, but I would love to have gone back to, and this all goes back to Texas and Oklahoma too, USC, UCLA. I didn't want those teams to change conferences. I didn't like that. I felt like it was probably the first domino of what would come with all this conference realignment, and so it all started there, and that just, I wouldn't say it ruined college football, but it definitely is going to be different. I think we can still enjoy the sport. There's still going to be plenty of excitement. But again, I think most people agree with me. We'd rather it stay like it used to be and have our traditional conferences. And I'd even go back even further to before the last conference realignment. But it's going to be exciting. We'll see. How does it affect the overall landscape? Do these teams in the Big Ten and the SEC just kind of pull away from everyone else, and all the money goes to those conferences and all the recruits go to those conferences, and they just kind of pull away from everyone else? Or will the Big 12 and the ACC still stay competitive? I know Florida State wants out of the ACC. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but I think at some point, probably the ACC, they're going to have to do something as well. They're going to have to, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the ACC, but I don't see it staying the way it is now. I even saw an article about potentially having an alliance with the Pac-12 and the ACC, which really doesn't make a ton of sense. You're going to fly all the way from coast to coast to play games. That part really doesn't make a lot of sense either. Really, if you want to have better matchups in college football, and I am in favor of this, you just have all the Power 5 or the Power 4, whatever it is now. You have those teams play each other, and you get rid of the Group of 5. You just kind of start your own league, if you will. You separate the FBS, the Power 5, the Group of 5. Group of 5 should have their own championship. I would be fine with that. Get rid of the cupcake games, the FCS games. I know there's a lot of money that goes to those schools and all of that, but if you want to have more competitive games, that's how you do it. You get rid of those cupcake games. You don't just add teams to conferences when, again, you're still going to have some of those less desirable matchups like I mentioned. And, it's also ironic that we finally get to a place where there are four power conferences, and if all four of those champions are deserving, then they could all go to the college football playoff, and we could have a 4-team playoff, and we could have the 4 conference champions. Again, if they're all deserving. I don't know. If you have an undefeated Big 12 and ACC champion and an SEC Big 10 champion with 1 loss, or however it falls, you can see every conference represented now. And so you finally get that to kind of line up with the 4-team playoff, and then we go to 12 teams. So that's kind of ironic there as well. It's going to be exciting. I really feel like when we get to the 12-team playoff, when we get to all this next year, I think you're probably going to see your conference champions that get in, and I think everyone else is probably going to be out of the SEC and the Big Ten. I think they're pretty much going to dominate the field of 12. So if you don't win your conference championship and you're in the Big 12 or the ACC or whatever, any of the Group 5 conferences, obviously, I don't think you're going to get into that 12-team playoff. I just don't see that happening because the committee's going to be looking at the strength of schedule and all that with the Big 10 and the SEC. And so I think those 2 conferences are going to dominate the field of 12, and we'll see how all that plays out. So again, my thoughts are just, let's just go with it. Let's see what happens. It's still going to be college football. It's still going to be a lot of fun. It's still going to be a ton of great games, new matchups. Yes, we'll lose some of those old rivalries, but we'll get new rivalries, new matchups. And it is what it is. Again, still college football. Still going to be a lot of fun to watch all the games like it always has been. I'm not going to overreact to that, say, oh, college football is dead, it's over. No, it's still going to be college football. It's a different era. Again, things are much different, but it's still college football. And a reminder, we do have a Big Ten channel. If you're a Big Ten fan, a fan of any of the teams in the Big Ten, make sure you subscribe to that. I'll put a card up here on the video and also put a link down in the description. But I would love to get your thoughts on all of this. Hopefully I've given you my thoughts. Again, I don't really have a ton to say on this. It just is what it is. But I would love to know what all of you think, the positives and negatives. Give me your comments down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll be rolling on with our predictions starting tomorrow. We're going to recap each Power 5 conference, give you my conference championship predictions, and also the playoff coming up very soon. I'm going to give you my playoff predictions, bowl projections, all of that, as we are getting close to the start of the 2023 season. The end of an era, the end of the 4-team playoff era, the end of the Power 5. I think it's going to be an exciting season. Can't wait to see what happens. But again, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more right here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.